The summer sun hung high in the sky over Millbrook, New York, casting a warm glow over the peaceful suburban neighborhood. The air buzzed with excitement as neighbors gathered at Mrs. Parsons' annual barbecue, a beloved tradition that brought the community together. Children laughed and played in the yard, their carefree spirits mingling with the aroma of grilled meats and the chatter of adults. Among the crowd stood Olivia Morgan, a vibrant 23-year-old with a carefree demeanor that masked the turmoil beneath. Her laughter echoed as she mingled with a group of women, sharing light-hearted jokes and gossip. At a glance, Olivia seemed to have it all: youth, beauty, and a loving husband. Yet, those who looked closer could sense an emotional immaturity that often overshadowed her relationships. Ethan Morgan, Olivia's 25-year-old husband, hovered near the grill, flipping burgers with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He was warm and devoted, the kind of man who had always put Olivia first, yet lately, the affection he showered upon her felt increasingly unreciprocated. With every laugh Olivia shared with her friends, Ethan's heart sank a little more, and frustration simmered beneath his surface. As Olivia joked about trivial matters, Ethan tried to engage her. "Hey, Liv, do you want to try this?" he called out, holding up a perfectly grilled burger. But Olivia, lost in her conversation, dismissed him with a wave of her hand, leaving him feeling small and overlooked. The festivities continued, the air thick with laughter, but the underlying tension in Ethan's heart turned oppressive. He watched Olivia from a distance, feeling the weight of her disregard. He had always admired her spirit, but as the years passed, he couldn't help but notice how her self-centeredness overshadowed his feelings. Today, he hoped for a moment of connection, a sign that their marriage still mattered to her. As the afternoon wore on, the laughter grew louder, and Olivia, buoyed by the spirits of her friends, began to tease Ethan playfully. "Oh, come on, Ethan. Look at you, bending over backward to please me. It's almost sad how spineless you are." She laughed, and the women around her joined in, their giggles echoing through the yard. Ethan's heart sank. He felt the humiliation wash over him, anger bubbling just beneath the surface. The laughter that had once felt joyful now felt like daggers, cutting into his pride and self-worth. He overheard the comments, each word piercing deeper than the last. Olivia's playful jibe crossed a line, igniting a fire within him that had been smoldering for far too long. In a swift motion, Ethan stepped away from the grill, his demeanor turning cold as he approached Olivia. The moment they reached a secluded corner of the yard, he confronted her. "How could you say something like that? Do you have any idea how hurtful that was?" Olivia, still reeling from the abrupt shift in mood, laughed nervously, trying to diffuse the tension. "Ethan, come on. It was just a joke." "No, Olivia. It's not harmless if it makes me feel small and insignificant. You've disrespected me for too long, and I'm done." His voice was firm, his eyes filled with pain and determination. Each word carried the weight of years of accumulated hurt, and he could no longer bear it. Olivia's expression changed from amusement to shock, and then to panic. She fumbled for words, trying to dismiss his hurt as a misunderstanding. "You can't be serious. We've been through so much together. I didn't mean to hurt you." Ethan guided Olivia away from the crowd, seeking a secluded corner of the yard where they could speak privately. The moment they reached the shadows of the tall trees, he confronted her. "How could you say something like that? Do you have any idea how hurtful that was?" Olivia, still reeling from the abrupt shift in mood, laughed nervously, trying to diffuse the tension. "Ethan, come on. It was just harmless fun. I didn't mean anything by it." "No, Olivia. It's not harmless if it makes me feel small and insignificant. You've disrespected me for too long, and I'm done." His voice was firm, his eyes filled with pain and determination. Each word carried the weight of years of accumulated hurt, and he could no longer bear it. Olivia's expression changed from amusement to shock, and then to panic. She fumbled for words, trying to dismiss his hurt as a misunderstanding. "You can't be serious. We've been through so much together. I didn't mean to hurt you." But Ethan's calm demeanor told her everything she needed to know. "When we get home, I'll be packing your things. You need to understand how serious this is. His voice was devoid of warmth, and the finality of his words hung in the air between them like a thick fog. Panic set in as Olivia's world began to crumble. She rushed home, her heart racing as dread washed over her. When she entered their home, she found Ethan already gathering her belongings, each item a painful reminder of their life together. "Ethan, please. Just give me another chance," she pleaded, tears welling in her eyes. She moved closer, her heart pounding as she tried to reach him, but he remained resolute, his face a mask of determination. "You've had plenty of chances, Olivia. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep being your punching bag while you laugh at my expense." His voice was flat, devoid of emotion, and Olivia felt the weight of his words pressing down on her. Desperation clawed at her as she attempted to manipulate the situation. "I'm sorry. I'll change, I promise. Just don't do this. We can work it out." Her voice trembled, but Ethan's cold gaze remained fixed on the task at hand. As he continued packing, Olivia's facade began to crumble. The gravity of her actions struck her like a bolt of lightning, illuminating the selfishness that had plagued their relationship. She felt a deep ache in her chest as she realized the impact of her behavior. Ethan had been nothing but kind and patient, and yet here she was, pushing him away. Panic set in as Olivia's world began to crumble. She rushed home, her heart racing as dread washed over her. When she entered their home, she found Ethan already gathering her belongings, each item a painful reminder of their life together. "Ethan, please. Just give me another chance," she pleaded, tears welling in her eyes. She moved closer, her heart pounding as she tried to reach him, but he remained resolute, his face a mask of determination. "You've had plenty of chances, Olivia. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep being your punching bag while you laugh at my expense." His voice was flat, devoid of emotion, and Olivia felt the weight of his words pressing down on her. Desperation clawed at her as she attempted to manipulate the situation. "I'm sorry. I'll change, I promise. Just don't do this. We can work it out." Her voice trembled, but Ethan's cold gaze remained fixed on the task at hand. As he continued packing, Olivia's facade began to crumble. The gravity of her actions struck her like a bolt of lightning, illuminating the selfishness that had plagued their relationship. She felt a deep ache in her chest as she realized the impact of her behavior. Ethan had been nothing but kind and patient, and yet here she was, pushing him away. "Do you even realize what you're doing?" Olivia asked, her voice cracking with emotion. She stepped forward, trying to make him see the gravity of the situation. "This is our life. We've built something together." Ethan paused for a moment, his hands stilling over her clothes. "What we built is crumbling because of your actions. You've taken me for granted, Olivia. You act like my feelings don't matter, and I'm tired of it." Her desperation intensified as she realized how deep the chasm had grown between them. "I never meant to hurt you. I thought we were happy." Ethan shook his head, disappointment etched across his features. "Happy? You don't even see how your jokes cut me. You don't care about how I feel. It's always been about you." Tears streamed down Olivia's face as she confronted the truth of his words. Each moment replayed in her mind, a montage of selfishness and neglect that had pushed Ethan away. She remembered his sacrifices, the countless times he had supported her dreams while she dismissed his needs. As Ethan packed the last of her belongings into boxes, the reality settled in like a heavy fog. Olivia felt utterly helpless, her heart sinking as she watched the life they had built slip through her fingers. The once bright future she envisioned now felt like a distant memory, overshadowed by the weight of regret. In a last-ditch effort, Olivia collapsed to her knees, sobbing. "Please, Ethan. I'm begging you. I can't lose you. I'll do better, I promise." The desperation in her voice echoed through the empty house, but Ethan's resolve remained unshaken. For a fleeting moment, doubt flickered in his eyes. He wanted to believe her, to hold on to the love they had once shared. But years of emotional strain had eroded his trust, and he knew the damage was too deep. "It's too late, Olivia. I'll always love you, but I can't stay in this anymore." His words were like knives, cutting through her last hopes. He finished packing her things and turned to leave. In that moment, the reality of their situation settled in. Olivia stood on the porch, watching him walk away, her heart shattering. She felt as if the ground beneath her had opened up, swallowing her whole. "Ethan, wait," she cried out, desperation lacing her voice. But he didn't turn back. Each step he took felt like a final nail in the coffin of their relationship. The vibrant laughter of the barbecue was now a haunting reminder of what she had lost. As she watched him disappear into the distance, the weight of her actions crashed over her like a tidal wave. The realization that she had driven him away consumed her. She had always believed there would be time to fix things, time to change, but now that time felt irrevocably lost. Standing alone on the porch, Olivia felt hollow. She looked at the boxes piled up inside, a stark representation of her failed marriage. Memories flooded her mind, Ethan's laughter, the warmth of his embrace, the way he always believed in her. She had taken all of it for granted, and now she was left with nothing but the bitter taste of regret. As the last rays of sunlight faded, casting long shadows across the yard, Olivia was engulfed by a profound sense of loss. She had reached the precipice of her choices, and now the reality of her selfishness echoed in the silence around her. In the days that followed Ethan's departure, Olivia's world became a blur of emptiness and despair. She moved back in with her parents, who welcomed her with disappointment etched on their faces. They had seen the signs for a long time but had hoped that their daughter would eventually realize the importance of her relationship. As she settled into the familiar surroundings of her childhood home, the silence felt suffocating. The vibrant colors of her previous life seemed muted, and every corner of the house reminded her of the laughter and love she had taken for granted. Each day was a struggle as she battled the weight of her choices, replaying moments from her marriage that once brought her joy now twisted into painful reminders of her failures. Her parents tried to encourage her, offering words of support, but Olivia could only see the disappointment in their eyes. They urged her to seek help, to understand why she had pushed Ethan away. With a heavy heart, she agreed to meet with a therapist, Dr. Olson, hoping to find some clarity in her chaotic emotions. In her first session, sitting in the cozy yet sterile office, Olivia felt vulnerable as she shared her story. Dr. Olson listened attentively, guiding her to explore the roots of her behavior. As the sessions progressed, Olivia began to peel back the layers of her past, confronting the emotional immaturity that had led her to prioritize her own desires over the needs of her husband. "I didn't realize how selfish I was," Olivia admitted one afternoon, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I always thought I was just being fun and carefree, but I see now that I was just blind." Dr. Olson nodded, gently encouraging her. "It's important to understand that self-awareness is the first step to change. Acknowledging your actions is a significant part of the healing process." With each session, Olivia delved deeper into her psyche. She unearthed memories of her childhood, moments when she felt neglected and unworthy, and how those feelings had manifested in her adult relationships. The realization was painful, yet liberating. It was a turning point that sparked a desire for growth. As weeks turned into months, Olivia committed herself to the work ahead. She started journaling her thoughts and feelings, pouring her heart onto the pages as she processed her emotions. She began reading self-help books, eager to learn about healthy relationships and emotional maturity. Slowly but surely, she began to recognize the patterns in her behavior and the changes she needed to make. Despite her progress, the absence of Ethan lingered like a shadow. She often found herself thinking about their time together, the love they had shared, and the dreams they had built. There were moments of deep reflection when the ache of loss felt overwhelming, but she knew she had to focus on herself for now. One evening, as she sat in her room, surrounded by her journals and books, Olivia looked in the mirror. For the first time in a long while, she didn't just see a girl lost in her mistakes. She saw a woman ready to change, to grow, and to take responsibility for her actions. It was a small step, but it was a significant one. Over the next several months, Olivia's journey of self-improvement became her priority. She embraced the hard work that came with understanding herself and rebuilding her self-worth. The therapy sessions with Dr. Olson provided her with valuable insights, allowing her to transform her regrets into lessons. Olivia learned to set boundaries, communicate openly, and, most importantly, respect not just others but herself as well. As she continued to grow, she found a job at a local marketing firm. It was a new beginning, a step toward independence that filled her with a sense of purpose. With each task she completed, she regained confidence, a feeling that had been long overshadowed by her past mistakes. The supportive environment at work further encouraged her to engage with others positively, reinforcing the changes she was striving to make. 6 months later, while waiting in line at a coffee shop, Olivia's heart skipped a beat when she spotted Ethan. He stood near the counter, looking more refined than she remembered, his presence still commanding. Anxiety washed over her as memories flooded back, happy moments, laughter, the warmth of his embrace. She hesitated, but something deep within urged her to confront the ghosts of their past. As Ethan turned, their eyes met. Time seemed to stand still. The awkwardness of their shared history hung heavily in the air, but Olivia felt a strange sense of calm. She approached him, her heart pounding. "Ethan," she began, her voice steady yet soft, "I didn't expect to see you here." "Olivia," he replied, his tone cautious. "It's good to see you." They exchanged small talk, but the weight of unspoken words lingered. Finally, Olivia took a deep breath, summoning the courage she had cultivated over the past months. "I want to sincerely apologize for everything that happened between us. I was selfish and immature, and I've spent a lot of time reflecting on my actions. I truly regret how I treated you." Ethan's expression softened, and he nodded slowly. "I appreciate you saying that. It's good to hear." There was a pause, a moment of vulnerability where both of them acknowledged the distance that had grown between them. "I've been working on myself," Olivia continued, her voice earnest. "I want to be a better person, not just for me but for anyone I may be with in the future." "I can see that," Ethan replied, a hint of warmth returning to his eyes. "I'm glad you're finding your path." The conversation felt bittersweet, a mixture of closure and loss. Olivia realized that while Ethan had forgiven her, he had also moved on. The love they once shared had transformed into something more akin to friendship, a mutual respect for the journeys they were undertaking apart. As they parted ways, Olivia felt a mix of sorrow and hope. She had loved Ethan deeply, and she still held feelings for him, but she understood that they were no longer the same people they once were. The encounter was a turning point. She had faced her past and found closure. As she walked out of the coffee shop, Olivia felt lighter. She knew she had a long road ahead, but she was committed to her growth, not just for the sake of finding another relationship but for her own well-being. The future was uncertain, but she was ready to embrace it with an open heart. With each step, Olivia realized she had the power to build healthier, more respectful relationships in the future. She was not defined by her past mistakes but rather by her commitment to change and her willingness to learn. The journey ahead was hers to navigate, and for the first time in a long while, she felt hopeful about what was to come.